Hi, this is a quick mobility sequence to mobilize and strengthen the entire hip joint while helping you develop control, flexibility, and your usable ranges of motion of your hip joint. So we're going to go ahead and get started in a seated position. So feet flat on the floor, feet a little bit wider than hips distance apart, and then take a hold of the front of your shins. So we're going to take an inhale, lift and open your chest. So just cat-cow in this seated position. Exhale, round the back, pull the belly in. Inhale, lift and open your chest, squeezing the upper back. Exhale, pull the belly in to round. One more, inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, pull the belly in to round. Good. We're going to take your feet just a little bit wider. Hands out in front of you, lift through the chest. We're going to drop your knees over to the right. Plantar flex your feet so your toes are pointed. And then we're going to drive your hips forward and up, squeezing the glutes. And then with control, coming back down. If this is difficult for you, we're going to rotate over to the other side. To keep a tall spine, you can prop pillows underneath your hips. You can also place blocks or bolsters underneath you as well. Other variation is to keep your hands here down behind you and just doing a little baby lift of your hips at the bottom. So we're rotating our legs side to side, whatever variation you're taking. And I want you to start to create some tension here. So rather than just swinging our legs side to side, I want you to resist out in both directions, okay? So as we go over to the right, whatever position you're in, I'm driving my hips forward and up. With control, coming back down to the ground, I'm going to drive my right knee into the floor as I start to resist and open up my left knee. And then there's going to be a point where my left knee will have to win, and then my right leg has to relax a little bit, but it's still pressing open in the other direction. And then I come back down, and then the hips will drive forward and up. With control, pulling myself to a seat, resisting that right knee open as the left knee drives down, rotating to the other side, creating tension through the body as I come all the way up. So we're going to do this a few more times. Resist, find your tension in your hips, take any variations that you need to, adjusting and modifying for your body. Rotating, driving those hips up, and you'll feel that heart rate start to increase. Squeeze the hips, tall spine, creating tension. And we're going to end up over on the right side, and we're going to pause. Okay? So adjust if you need to. I'm just going to slide over onto my mat. So we're in a 90-90 position. So 90 degrees front leg, 90 degrees femurs, and 90 degrees back leg. If it is difficult to sit up tall here, I want you to slide that back foot in. And you can also slide the front foot in if necessary. So whatever position works for you to get the tallest spine you can. If both of these options leave you still feeling like you're collapsed through your torso, kickstand your right hand off to the side to create a little more space. Okay, we're going to do kinetic stretching here. Few options. Hands can be on the ground as we do this. Hands can be crossed out in front of you. Hands can be down behind you. Okay, easiest is the floor. Next most challenging. Third most challenging, and then the most challenge will be arms overhead. I'm going to go arms down by my side, squeeze tight fists, irradiate tension through my body. Think about lifting your right ankle, shin, and knee off the ground to activate that tissue on the top side of the leg, and then slowly shifting your hips as far forward as you can. So find your end point. You'll feel a stretch in that right hip here, whether your hands are on the ground or by your side or at your chest. Holding, I'm continuing to think about lifting that leg off the ground, and now I'm going to shift and I'm going to drive my foot, shin, and knee into the ground to slowly drive myself upright. So I'm using my hip to lift up. I'm still pushing down at the top, and now I'm going to shift. I'm going to try and lift that leg to shift forward, finding the end point without changing my spine. So spine is straight here. And then I'm going to drive the leg down to come all the way upright. Lift to shift forward, finding your end point. Driving the leg down to come upright. Good. Lift to shift. We're doing two more. Long spine. Drive down through the leg to come upright. Continue to irradiate tension. Last one. Lift to shift forward, whatever variation you're in. I want you to take your hands down to the floor in front of you. If you're out to the side, you'll just be shifted off slightly to the side. And we're going to hold this position. So holding, And we're not gonna do a long hold today. We're just gonna do a 30-second hold. Ideally, if you're trying to expand your range of motion and gain more mobility in that hip, so more range, you would hold this for up to 2 minutes and then go through the pails rails, which we're about to do. So we're just gonna hold for 30 seconds. And we're going to do what's called pails rails. So pails are progressive angular isometric loading and rails are regressive angular isometric loading. You don't need to remember that, but they are two different works of effort. So we're going to do pails first. I want you to think about driving your right foot, shin, and knee into the ground now. And you're going to just drive down about 10% of intensity. So we're working the tissue that's being stretched, that right outer hip and right outer leg. 30% effort of intensity. 40%, keep pushing down. 50, the spine is long, we're bracing and irradiating tension. 60, 70, 80, your greatest, safest effort of driving that foot, shin, and knee into the ground and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, think about sweeping that ground away from you. 4, 3, 2, now you're going to try and lift your right foot off the ground. So pushing, imagine your left hand is right on top of that right ankle and you're going to push your foot up into your hand. So now we're activating the tissue on the front side of the leg to pull that hip deeper into a stretch. Holding for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, keep irradiating tension. 2, relax the leg, stay in the position, find new end range of motion. So maybe you're able to shift your navel forward and your tailbone back a hair. Maybe it's 1/4 of an inch, maybe it's just the tiniest little bit of movement, but find that new end range. And we're going to do that again. And take a few deep breaths here in your stretch. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. And start to activate that pails contraction. Drive your right ankle, shin, and knee into the ground. 20% effort. Think about sweeping, like you could push that whole floor out from underneath you. 30%, 40, 50, maintain a long spine. 60, 70, 80, your greatest, safest effort and hold. Maintain that same intensity for this held position. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and rails. Try and lift that right ankle off the ground. Drive your right knee into the floor. Lift for 10, 9, we're just doing 2 rounds of this. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax the hip. Relax the tissue surrounding that hip joint. Navel forward, tailbone back, chest reaches forward. Take a deep breath in. Exhale it out. Soften your shoulders. Again, deep breath in. Full breath out. And then start to walk your hands back upright, hands out in front of you or supported to the side. We're gonna lean into that right hip, that's probably warm. You're gonna lift the back leg up and slowly reach that leg forward and set the foot down. And then you'll just slide that right foot out from underneath. And now we're in a figure 4 here. So sit up tall, and we're going to shift our shift our torso forward without rounding the low back, and you're going to find an end range of your stretch into that hip and hamstring here. So softest bend in the knee, just so we're not locked out. Dorsiflex your foot, and we're just going to hold. And you're probably not going to find your deepest stretch here, right? You'll probably feel a deeper stretch if you hinge more from the hip, but I want you to find a position where we're just slightly backed off from an end range so that when we start to drive our hands into the floor, we could lift that foot off the floor ever so slightly without changing our back. So we're going to do some pails here, so pails contractions in this position. Getting my timer out. And then we're going to do lift-offs with that left leg. So from here, I want you to lift your navel forward, lift your chest forward, tailbone back behind you. Find a little more extension of the spine. And then with the softest bend in that left knee, you're going to start to drive your left foot into the floor as if you were standing upright and you could kick your leg completely back behind you in hip extension. So starting to drive that left heel into the floor, 20% effort, 30, 40, 50% effort, 60, no change in the spine, 70, irradiate tension, 80, your greatest, safest effort. We're activating our hamstring, we're activating our hip in this lengthened position, holding for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and lift off. You're gonna drive your hands into the floor and try and lift that left leg and slowly set it back down. Notice if you're rounding your back to lift, we're not using our hip to do that lift. So I want you to find the position where you can irradiate and just lift from the hip joint, not the spine. Okay, again, pack those shoulders and lift off. You should feel that in hip flexor, maybe even quad, and set it back down. If you're getting to that cramping position, back off ever so slightly. So tease the cramp, lift and slowly lower. Pack your shoulders and lift, set it back down gently. Lift, find your edge where you're just able to get it off the floor. And lift, I don't want it to come up more than an inch. And lift and lower, lift and lower. We have 4 more. Lift and lower, good, packing the shoulders. 3 and lower, 2 and lower. Last one, lift and lower. Good, take those arms back out in front of you, irradiate tension, squeeze your fists. Lean onto the right hip, lift your left leg, reach out, bend your knee, set it back down into that figure 4, and then we're gonna sink our left hip towards the floor. And then we're gonna squeeze our glute, drive back forward. So now we're mobilizing into this trail leg. Sink your hips and drive your hips back forward. Sink your hip, drive those hips back forward, sink and drive, sinking that left hip towards the floor, turning your torso with you. Last one, sink and back forward. Keeping the hands out in front of you, drive your right knee into the floor, start to press open with the left leg. So we're transitioning to the other side, rotating all the way until we're 90-90 with the left leg forward. So adjusting if you need to, pulling that foot in if you need to, pulling both feet in, maybe kickstanding off to the side. And this side might be completely different. So we're gonna start with our kinetic stretching here. So lifting up through the chest, find the position for your arms that feels like it's challenging you the most. Squeeze, irradiate, open up your chest, squeeze tight fists. Think about lifting that left ankle, shin, and knee off the ground, shifting forward, finding your end point, holding, and then we're going to start to drive ankle, shin, and knee into the ground to drive yourself all the way upright. Good. Lift to shift, coming forward. Good. And drive down to come upright. Good. Using your breath. Lift to shift, engage, try and create more tension in the body. Drive down to come upright. We've got 2 more. Lift to shift forward, navel forward, tailbone back. Find your end point. Drive down to come upright. Last one, lift to shift forward and hold. Good. Maybe the hands come down in front of you. Find your position that you can maintain this position for without changing your spine. My timer just went. I have another one. Again, lengthen through your spine, navel forward, tailbone back, breathe. Good. Getting ready for our pails rails contraction. So we're going to be driving down and then lifting up without changing this position. So starting to press down, ankle, shin, and foot into the ground, 20% effort. 30, pack your shoulders, irradiate, embrace through the trunk. 40%, 50%. 60%, you're working that left hip, turning on the hip that's in the stretch position. 70%, hitting every number in between as you increase. Your greatest, safest effort now, hold this same intensity for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Now try and lift that left ankle off the ground as if your hand is there and you're pushing up into it. 10, 9, greatest, safest, hold that same amount of intensity. 5, 4, 3, 2, relax the leg, navel forward, tailbone back. Find a slightly more increased range of motion, whatever that means. Maybe it's nothing, maybe it's a hair, maybe it's a whole inch or two. Breathing here, in through the nose, out through the nose. Again, in through the nose, out through the nose. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Starting to push down. 20%. Ankle into the ground. 30%. 40. 50. 60. 70. Feel that left hip. 80. Greatest, safest effort for 10. 9. Same intensity. 8. 7. 6. Try not to lose it. 5. 4, 3, 2. Now driving that left ankle off the ground. See if you can lift up. Bring it closer to your chest without changing your spine. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Relax the leg. Navel forward, tailbone back. Relaxing all the tissue around that hip. Deep breath in. Full exhale. Again, deep breath in, soften somewhere. Deep exhale. And start to lift upright with your torso. Hands come up in front of you if possible. Lean into the left hip. Lift your right leg using control. Reach that right leg all the way forward and then set the foot down. Slide that left foot out slightly so we're in figure 4 with the right leg forward. Find the position with your hands. Find a hinge of your hips. So tailbone back, again, navel forward. Tall, long spine. Good. We're going to start to drive down. Softest bend in your right knee. You're going to start to drive down through that right foot. So turning on the hamstring, turning on the hip into hip extension, but in this full lengthened position. So driving down 20%, 30, hitting every number in between. 40, 41, 42, 43, 50, 60, 70, 80. Your greatest, safest effort and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We're going to go into lifts. 4, 3, 2. Irradiate without changing your spine. Lift that right leg and set it down. Maybe you cramp in that quad. And lift. See if you can back off ever so slightly and lower. We're doing 10 reps. 3 and lower. Just barely be able to lift it. So adjust as you need. Lower and lift. 5. Good. 5 more. 5 and lower with control. 4, setting it down without crashing. 3, good. 2, last one. Lift and set it down with control. Good. Hands back up out in front of you. Lean into the left hip. Reach that right leg back. Bend the knee. Reach and send it back. Good. And then we're going to sink into that right hip and squeeze the glute drive forward. Sink your right hip towards the floor. Feet are flexed here, driving the hip forward. Sinking down, opening it up, and driving forward. You're working directly into the hip capsule here. It might feel funny, you might feel like a weird stretch. Driving down and driving forward. And then this time you're gonna open it all the way up. Okay, knees are wide into a bear sit. We're gonna use control. I want you to lift that left leg up as high as you can. Squeeze the heel towards your glute and then set it down. Same thing with your right leg. Lift up as high as you can. Squeeze your heel towards the center and set it down. And then take a hold of your ankles or shins. Okay, so you might be way up here and that's okay. If it feels difficult to sit up with a tall spine, again, you can prop up your hips with pillows. We're gonna sit up tall. Lengthen through the spine and just take a couple deep breaths here. And we're gonna do pails, rails in this butterfly position. So for me, my knees are down pretty low, so I'm actually going to, I can't get my elbows down without rounding fully, and I wanna try and maintain a little more of a lift through my spine. So I'm gonna place my hands on my knees to find that end point. So you might be here and your elbows pushing down are going to allow you to find that end point. So listen to your body. Maybe you're someone that's down here. Maybe you're up here with your hands. Maybe you're all the way up here with your elbows. okay? So whatever that position is, find a stretch in your adductors. So we're gonna be working our adductors in opening them, drawing our knees down towards the floor and drawing our knees back up into whatever is pressing into the knees. So whether it's your hands or your elbows. And we're gonna find the deepest position that we can comfortably find. That feels like when we start to pull our knees down towards the floor, they're not able to actually lift off of our elbows, right? So we're at a position, if I say pull the knees down towards the floor, they shouldn't be able to then pull that far down, okay? So find the position where they cannot pull off of your arms or that support. Okay, so finding your end point, finding that stretch. We've got 30 more seconds here. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. Allow there to be this stretch in their inner thighs. And if you're someone that doesn't really get a stretch here, like I don't really get a stretch in this position. So these long holds, so these positions that are putting me in a stretch don't really do anything for me. So where my work is doing the active work. So the pails and the rails in that end range. So I'm actually able to gain strength in this mobility that I already own. If you're someone where you're up here, you do want to do those long holds so you can expand that range of motion. And then as you expand that range of motion, then you're gaining control in it as well. So for me, I don't need to expand my range, I just need to gain control of it. So we're going to start to do our pails. So whether you're on your hands or your elbows, you're going to start to drive your knees up into your hands or elbows, whatever that support is. 20% effort. So the action is trying to draw the knees together like this. 30%. 40, brace and irradiate tension in your body. 50. 60, you're trying to close the legs. 70. 80, greatest, safest effort. Drive up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Now try and pull the knees off the hands, off the elbows. They shouldn't be able to go anywhere, but you should feel the activation of the hips and the outside of the legs. Greatest, safest effort of pulling down for 10, so you're not pushing with your hands or your elbows anymore. You can even remove them if you need to. 7, so that you're not using them. 6, 5, 4, my hands are just light here. 3, 2, now find your new end range. Relax the tissue surrounding the hip joint. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Again, deep breath in, full breath out. Start to drive those knees up into the hands or elbows. 20%. Activate the inner thighs. 30%. 40. 50, we're turning on the tissue that's being stretched. 60, 70, 80, your greatest, safest effort, and hold for 10, 9, try and maintain it. 8, you might even have a shake. 7, 6, whatever your greatest and safest. 4, 3, 2, now pull the knees down to the floor. Feel the outer hips turn on. Now you're activating to pull yourself deeper into a stretch. 10, 9, 8, 7, feel the shake. 6, 5, we're speaking directly to the nervous system. 3, 2, hands come back on. We're actually going to do 3 for this one. Relax the tissue surrounding the hip. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And then start to drive those knees up. 20%. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, greatest, safest for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, even with the knees. 4, 3, 2, and pull down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, hands go back on. Relax the hip joint. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. 2 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Go ahead and draw the knees back together. We're going to start and come around onto your hands and knees. Okay, so coming around onto your hands and knees, we're gonna take our right foot forward to start. Back toes are gonna be tucked under. And I want you to make sure that that left knee is directly beneath the left hip, and then the right ankle is directly beneath the right knee. So we're gonna scissor those legs together. So right heel dragging back, left knee dragging forward. And I want you to think about a big belt buckle right here on your pelvis, and you're going to tilt that belt buckle up as if you could almost read what it says. So you're bringing your pelvis almost into this posterior tilt, but you're actually just bringing it a little bit more of a neutral tilt. And then we're gonna activate here. So we're gonna be scissoring those legs together. And just breathe and hold here, finding a stretch. So we should be able to find a hip flexion stretch, a hip flexor stretch. So we should be able to get into that psoas without dumping forward, right? So many of us, we tend to find and get that, we're sensation junkies, so we wanna feel that stretch by going here. We don't have control here, right? So we're gonna back off and we're gonna find a position where we can actually start to work the control of our hip. So I want you to find that stretch in your hip flexor by activation. So dragging the right heel back, dragging the left knee forward. And then we're gonna do pails rails here, but now we don't have anything to work against. So you're gonna just work in this tiny little space and think about not shifting yourself too far from here. So it can move a little bit front and back, but I don't want those hips to drop forward. So maintaining that tilt of your belt buckle, if it helps to hold your hands here in your pelvis, you can do that. You should start to feel some burning in the front of that left hip here if you're actively pulling that knee forward. Okay, so starting to pull a little bit even more intensity. So drag that left knee forward, drag the right heel back. Think about tilting that belt buckle. Good, and holding your greatest, safest effort here for 10, 9, 8. You might even feel that down into the quad. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Now we're gonna kick that heel back. So kick your left heel back, squeeze your left hip, squeeze that glute to pull that hip further back into hip extension without losing the belt buckle and that pelvic tilt. Holding for 10, squeeze your glute. 9, 8, no change in the pelvis. 6, keep pushing back. 5, 4, 3, 2, and find your stretch again. So little tilt of your belt buckle. Should feel lots of burning in that left hip now. Good. Stay tall and long through the spine. We're gonna do one more round. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. If it's difficult to hold this position, you can take broomsticks or you can take anything that you need that'll help you stay upright. I do like broomsticks or having some dowels that you can drive into the floor to help irradiate more tension, but we're using no props today. You can also place your hand right on that knee. So starting to drive again into your pails, you're gonna drive that left knee forward, right heel back for 10. So activating the tissue that's being stretched. 9, 8, 7, greatest, safest. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Now kicking that left heel back, find your glute to pull the hip back. No change in the pelvis. 10. 9, find a deeper stretch. 8, pull the belt buckle up, pull the belly in. 5, 4, 3, 2, and find your stretch again. Take 3 deep breaths. Full exhale. Inhale. Exhale. I can even see that I shifted forward. Inhale. Try not to do that. Exhale. Good. And then we're gonna take our hands down to the ground and we're gonna take our right leg back behind us. So we may need to have some props here. So you might need some pillows to support you. We're gonna start by just walking that right leg back and collapsing and sitting on that left heel. Now for some of you, this might be an okay position. If you are limited in your toe dorsiflexion or your ankle your toe dorsiflexion or your ankle dorsiflexion or plantar flexion, this might be too much. But if we collapse our foot all the way down, this is gonna be too much. So option, you can take a rolled up towel or pillow and place it right under here in the front of the ankle so that you can release the toes. But if you're lacking that dorsiflexion, you might need support there. Other option, you might put a pillow or two underneath your left hip and your left heel so that you're supported there. Otherwise, coming down here, taking that right leg back, elbows underneath you, pack your shoulders, irradiate tension. We're now working this right hip and hip extension. We're blocking out our low back here so that when we lift that leg, we're truly lifting from our right hip and not our lumbar spine. So if we're here and we go to lift that leg, it's really easy to lift the leg and lift into our lumbar spine, making us think that we have more range of motion in our hip than we actually do. So when we're here, we really are only able to use that hip to lift the leg, okay? So pack your shoulders, irradiate tension, find your position, pause the video if you need to go grab props or anything. Irradiate, core tight, and lift that right leg as high as you can. Get yourself into a position where it's challenging and lightly set it down. If this is easy and you're still maintaining contact of that left hip to heel, you can start here, but I want those back toes tucked under, okay? I can't do it in this position. I don't have enough range. Some of you might, okay? Pack your shoulders, irradiate, and lift. Squeeze that right glute, squeeze your hamstring, and set it down. Make sure that back leg is straight, and lift off and lower. Good, make it challenging. Lift, no bend in that knee, and lower, pressing through your heel. Lift and lower. Good, lift and lower. 3 more. Lift and lower, lift and lower. Last one, lift and lower. Good, come up to your hands. We're gonna step that right foot forward. So we're in this hip hinge, okay? So we're reaching our chest forward, allowing your hips to drop towards the floor now, ever so slightly. So we're not gonna sink them all the way down, but they can come a little bit lower. And we're gonna be working this front leg. So we're gonna work our front leg. We're gonna do a pails contraction to drive down, and then we're gonna work deep into that hip flexion, actively lifting up. You're gonna feel your core as well. So start to drive your right heel into the floor, feeling the glute, feeling the hamstring, feeling the entire posterior side of that right leg. 8, 7, 6, 5. We're doing quick pails contractions today. 4, 3, 2, just activating that tissue that's being stretched. And now we're gonna lift that right leg off the ground. Maybe it lifts, maybe it doesn't. 10, 9, feel the right hip flexor. 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax the leg. Good, deep breath in. Deep breath out. If this feels really challenging, you can also take your hands up onto blocks, or you can have your hands up on something higher in front of you, maybe even a coffee table. Okay, pack those shoulders, start to drive your right heel into the ground. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, feeling this backside. 4, 3, 2, and lift. Try and get that right foot to lift off the ground. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe we're just doing a rails contraction. 5, 4, 3, try and get it to lift. 2, and set it down. Good, deep breath in, deep breath out. And just go ahead and shift those hips back, flex your right foot. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, pull back. One more, inhale, shifting forward, and exhale, pulling back. Good. And then go ahead and walk your hands back, take your right knee down, and we're gonna take our left foot forward, doing that hip flexion on the other side. Align your right knee directly beneath your right hip, left foot beneath the left knee. Start to scissor the legs. Back toes are tucked under, big belt buckle, tilt that belt buckle up, and then start to drive right knee forward, left heel back, brace and pull and irradiate tension through the belly. Deep breaths. Inhale. Start to find that stretch in your right hip flexor. Exhale. Maintaining tension. Inhale. Exhale. So we're just getting every aspect of the hip. So we're getting external rotation. We haven't quite touched too much on internal rotation, just a little bit. Hip flexion and hip extension. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Now I want you to start to drive even more intensity. Think about lifting that belt buckle, dragging that right knee forward, pulling the belly in, getting tall through the spine. Greatest, safest. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Using your right glute, start to kick back. Fire your glute without changing your pelvis. Greatest, safest for 8, 7, 6. No change in the pelvis. 4, 3, 2, relax, maintain to keep that belt buckle tilted. Deep breath in. Still scissoring the legs. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Round 2. Start to drive that right knee forward like you could lift it up. Tilt your belt buckle. Drag your left heel back. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then kick the heel back. Squeeze your right glute. 10, 9. Maybe you feel a shake in these legs now. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. Good. Relax the tissue as best you can, but maintain the position. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Good. And then we're going to take our right hand down and we're going to slide that left leg back behind us. Find your position, collapse onto that right heel. So we're getting that right heel as close as we can to the hip, really trying to collapse. If you feel like you can't quite get down there, put a pillow here. Put a pillow underneath your ankle if you need to as well. Pack your shoulders, irradiate tension, back knee is straight, so press the thigh up towards the ceiling, lengthen through the heel, and lift off. And with control, set it down. Pack your shoulders. Lift, 2, and set it down. Lift, 3, and lower. Lift, 4, and lower. Lift, 5, and lower. 6, and lower. Lift, 7, and lower. 8, lower. 9, lower. Last one, 10, and lower. Good. Come up to your hands. Step that left foot forward. Be on your fingertips or your hands. Maybe you prop higher. Sinking the hips. Starting to drive your left heel into the floor. Driving left foot down. So you're activating that left hip, left hamstring. Posterior side of that left leg. 10, 9, 8. Do your best to find activation. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, pack your shoulders. 1, try and lift that left foot. Feel your hip flexion. 8, 7, 6, 5. Should feel very challenging to get that leg up there. 3, 2, and rest. Good. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Start to drive that left foot down like you're standing upright on that left foot. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, irradiating tension. 3, 2, now drive down through your hands and try and get that left foot to lift. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, feel it in your hip flexor. 4, 3, 2, and set it down. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Full breath out. Good. And go ahead and walk the hands back. Take both knees down. Just drive your hips forward slightly. Open up the front of them. Sink your hips down towards your heels. Drive your hips back forward. Sinking your hips towards your heels. 3. Good. 4. Sinking down. And 5. Sinking down. Good. Last thing we're going to do is either a squat or bear sit pails rails. So if it is difficult for you to get into this deep squat position here, you can do the same exact thing in a bear sit with your feet forward, knees wide. You can grab onto your feet. You can even just hold onto your ankles here. Okay, so either bear sit here or squat. If you're in a squat position and this is easy for you to maintain, you're gonna hold the fronts of your toes. Okay, so you're gonna grab your fingertips around your toes here. Arms are to the inside of our legs. We're gonna be trying to lift up out of a squat and pull ourselves deeper into our squat without actually changing position, okay? If you're in a bear sit, same exact thing. You're gonna try and pull your knees back up towards the wall behind you to pull yourself deeper into your squat, and you're gonna drive your heels away from you like you're doing this action as we try and stand up out of your squat. So visualize being upright in a squat position as we do this action, and just think about that in your head. I'm gonna do it from a squat position. So you're gonna grab the fronts of your toes, lifting up tall with your chest, And then you start to pull your chest upright. I'm just holding this squat position for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to be driving our hips down into the floor. And then we're going to be trying to drive up out of our squat. Take 2 more breaths. Inhale. Keep lifting your chest. Exhale. Inhale. Last one. Exhale. I want you to pull yourself deeper into your squat. So think knees driving to the ceiling, hips trying to kiss the floor. Pull yourself into it by deepening your hip flexion. So use your hip flexors to pull yourself deeper. Knees to the ceiling, hips to the floor. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Now start to drive your heels into the ground. Feel your glutes. Try and lift your hips away from the floor. Lift the crown of the head higher. 10, 9, you're trying to stand upright. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and shift directions. Pull your knees up and your hips down. 10, 9, trying to get deeper in your squat. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, switching directions. Try and drive your heels down. Lift your crown of the head up, trying to stand up out of your squat. 10, 9, you got it. 8, 7, 6, 5, activate. 4, 3, find that shaky spot. And last one, pull the knees up, hips down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and drive the hips up away from the floor, crown of the head up, shoulders back, trying to stand upright for 8, 7, find that shake. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Arms forward. Go ahead and take a seat. Good. Come around onto your back. Lay all the way down. Good. Hands down by your side. Just lift those hips up into a hip bridge. Good. Maybe walk those hands underneath your shoulders. Deep breaths. Deep breath in. Full exhale, opening up the front body. Stretching into the front body, strengthening into the back body, opening your heart, opening your chest. Think chest to chin, chin away from chest. 1 more breath. And then bring those arms up overhead, and then 1 vertebrae at a time, rolling back down. Good. And then find a comfortable position with your legs. We're just going to do a little bit of breath work here. Feet wide, maybe those knees knock in towards each other. Maybe those arms go wide. Maybe they go into a cactus shape. Whatever feels comfortable for you. Maybe you're in a full shavasana with the legs out. And close the eyes. And take a deep, full breath in. Full exhale. Again, deep breath in. Full exhale. And take a maximal breath in. Expand your rib cage. Gather up as much air in your lungs as you can. Hold. And then reflexive breath out. Just let your breath go. Maximal breath in. Expand your rib cage. Get as much air in the rib cavity as you can, and then reflexive out. Maximal breath in. Reflexive out. Maximal breath in, just 2 more. Reflexive out. Maximal breath in. Reflexive out. Maximal breath in. Pull, pull, pull. Gather up as much air as you can, and hold. Good. Eyes are closed or the gaze is soft. Notice what comes up. Alarm systems are going to start to be set off because you're not breathing, but you are hyperoxygenated. You have enough breath in your body to sustain this hold. We're not doing a long one today. 5, 4, 3, 2, exhale. Deep breath in. Full breath out. feel completely empty. Reflexive breath in. So just open mouth, get oxygen, and exhale maximally. Push every bit of air out. Contract through the belly, contract through the core. Feel completely empty. Reflexive breath in. Maximal breath out. Push, push, push. Completely empty your lungs. Reflexive in. Maximal breath out. Push. Feel empty. Reflexive in. Maximal breath out. 2 more. Push, push, push. Feel completely empty. Feel that little quiver at the bottom. Reflexive in. Maximal out. Last one. We're going to hold this one. Empty, empty, empty. Holding that breath. Nothing left. If you feel like there's a little bit left, push more out. Those alarm systems are going to get set off a little bit faster. CO2 is rising, oxygen is lowering, and that's just signaling the brain to set off those little alarms. Ding, 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 ding. Override that as best you can. Hold it just a little bit longer. 5, 4, 3, 2, inhale. Full exhale. Maximal breath in, gather up as much as you can. Feel the lungs, feel the ribs. Maximal exhale, push all the breath out, feel completely empty. Maximal breath in, expand the lungs, expand the ribs, feel the chest rise. Maximal exhale, push all the breath out. You can do this, just do 2 more. Maximal breath in, as much as you can, fuller than the last one. Maximal exhale, push every bit of breath out. Maximal inhale, it's our last one. Maximal exhale, feel completely empty. And then deep breath in. Out through the mouth. Let it go. And with those eyes closed, just allow yourself to fall back into this natural breath. No more holding on, no more control. And see where you can soften. Maybe rock your head side to side. Releasing tension in the neck. Maybe snuggle your shoulders under a little bit more. And allow yourself to get heavy with the body. Heavy through the shoulders, the hips, the legs, and the feet. And just taking a few more rounds of breath here. Softening in. And if you have the opportunity to do so, I invite you to stay longer in this calming breath pattern. So just allowing yourself to sink deeper into the floor. Otherwise, slowly bend your knees, roll onto your right side, and press yourself up to a comfortable seat. And sitting up nice and tall, just shift your hips back slightly. Just notice any shifts in your body. Maybe your mind's a little tingly from that breath work, which can happen. Maybe you're able to sit up taller. Maybe your shoulders are more open and rolled back, just from working through the spine and the hip joint. And take 1 more deep breath in. Full exhale. And just taking a moment of gratitude that you were able to take some time for your hips and your body. And I hope to see you on the mat again. Thank you.